What's going on, guys? My name is Oreo It's been a little bit since the last video, but this one's going to be kind of a bigger one about Season 13 and what we're looking forward to and kind of our thoughts generically on what's going on in the state of the game. I know the state of the game announcement hasn't been dropped by Destiny 2, but I think it's a good time for us to go ahead and talk about where the game is after Beyond Light and see what we're thinking is going to happen in Season 13. So let's go ahead and get started. So let's go ahead and talk about what we're getting in Season 13, what we know as of right now. We know so far we are going to have another type activity like the Wraithborn hunts, like the Sundial, like the Menagerie. These are different things that we have coming into the game every season, and these things are meant to stay the entire year. Destiny definitely talked about how they're trying to remove FOMO from the game. So the one way they're going to do that is bringing in seasonal content, and that content's going to stay for the year. So they're going to build off of this, and hopefully they can use this to help us get different things we want. Use it kind of like the Sundial, where we could target farm specific thing. Use it kind of like the Lectern on the moon. Different things like that I think would be good concepts for them to bring into the game. Obviously, we don't know what the loop's going to be. Obviously, we had the Wraithborn hunts that are staying with us, and it did have some loot to go through from here, but that's all we know as of right now. We now know that we're going to have another season pass, and it's going to be tied in kind of with some of the changes they're adding to Season 13. Obviously, we do that every season, but this season, with some of the balancing updates, it'll be a little interesting to see what they put into the season pass. Obviously, they're going to give us the new weapons and armor in Season Pass on the free and on the paid track. So definitely take a look at those things as well. After that, our loot grind is going to basically be Umbral Engrams. If you remember Season 11, Umbral Engrams were kind of our magical Engram drops that dropped out of literally every different activity we could think of. We had a lot of them. They definitely talked about how they're reducing the amount of Umbral Engrams we're going to get, but still, Umbral Engrams are a good way to target farm as we go forward. And they're showing us how to do that basically by using the Prismatic Lens. The Prismatic Lens is going to be something they use to help target farm different things that you want. So target farming is like, if I want to get this one submachine gun, I can reduce my chances of getting something else. Or want to get this specific perk, I can reduce my chance of getting something else. That'll help reduce the RNG effect of the game. One thing that I'm personally hoping for is that it's kind of like the Chalice from Season of Opulence, that you can put in slot different runes or slot different things in order to basically craft your own weapon or craft your own set of perks you want, but it'll give you a random weapon within an archetype or something along those lines. So hopefully that'll help us with that, and that's just my speculation for Prismatic Lenses. My personal thoughts on this is that we need to use the seasonal content to help fill in sunsetting. There's not enough armor and weapons out there to fill in what they removed from the game. If you look at all the things that they removed, put in the Destiny content vault, quote unquote, or sunset, we don't have a lot of choices. Right now, for a major DLC to come out, limiting the choices that the player base has was one of the worst things they could have done. People are tired of using the same old, and then you're bringing them back, the same weapons back, having to regrind them. There's a tired effect of the community on this, and I don't think that's the right way to do it. So what does a season need to bring to help boost the game? These are some of the things I identified. It needs to have loot. It needs to have a quality loot. Needs to have easy to farm loot, meaningful loot, and story progression. Those are some of the key factors of the season. I mean, when you come to a game that has a new update, what are you looking for? You want the cool new things that are fun to use, exciting, different, unique. Those are things that we don't have. And I understand there's only so much development time they can put into these seasons, but either give us quality and a little bit of them, or quantity with a lot of different options. I think those are the two things that we don't have. And because We can add in different things like the prismatic reactor where we can target farm things. Quality or quantity both work. Quantity works really well because I can, after using the prismatic reactor, select exactly what I want when I want it. So hopefully they can add that. Some examples of kind of what we're talking about with filling in the gaps for weapons. Arc auto rifles. So when the next season comes along, if we don't have an arc auto rifle, we won't have one to use in the game. Or a non-exotic void bow, other than the Monarch, we don't have one. Solar 180 hand cannon, and then any 120 round per minute elemental hand cannon. We do not have a 120 elemental hand cannon in the game. Just think about it. Right now, 120s are so strong in the game. Imagine if I was able to use a 120 in my elements, my secondary slot, and have something in my primary. We can't do that right now. That's not an option. These aren't options we have. After that, we don't have an arc scout rifle, a void sniper, void SMG, arc or solar linear fusion rifle. So these are gaps, major gaps that they have in their game. And these are things that we need to at least have accessible when we go to the next season. You have to think about it. If they want us to play the way we want to, and they stress that over and over and over, how can we do that when the hardest challenges sometimes require certain things? Anti-barrier, void burn. What if anti-barrier is only on SMGs next season? What am I supposed to use? This is just generic looking at, hand cannons in general, SMGs in general. This isn't going into a lot of detail by the archetypes of each weapon. We talked a little bit about hand cannons, but there's so many other voids in there that you can't choose from. There's not options. There are no options. That's the problem. Look at a game like Path of Exile. There's multiple different ways you can build the game. Now, I can't say that Destiny 2 is Path of Exile. It's not. It is not. But what brings that game its relevancy is the fact that there are so many different avenues I can take to try something new, to do something different. It keeps the game going and makes it fresh. Destiny's been using the same weapons as a meta weapon in PvE, PvP for how long? Seasons? A year? And they said sunsetting's gonna fix that? How? How are you gonna fix that when all you do is push us towards the same one or two weapons? That's kind of anti-sunsetting to me. I don't quite understand how that was the thought process. If they were going to do this, and many people said this, they were for sunsetting. They said what they're going to do is this is going to be basically Destiny 3. We're going to get as many weapons as we got year one launch. And what do we get? What, 27, basically 27 weapons, including raid weapons? It just doesn't make any sense. And then, if you look at the other weapons, there's some areas that are deficient because they're locked behind endgame things. If you're Destiny, you are the devs and you want to make this game quote unquote accessible to everybody. I understand you want people to play the endgame content. How do you expect them to play the endgame content and get good rewards when they can't even hold their own ground with what's available for them to get? That's just not accessible. You're making them come in and do something that they cannot do. Be carried by the community. I understand that's what they want, the community to work together, but you have to understand, not everybody has that opportunity and that chance. And you're really alienating a large part of your community. And I just don't find that to be right, how they're doing that. So let's talk about a couple simple ways that the devs at Destiny could do something different and make it better. Let's just look at this season that we've had right now. Scout rifles. Unflinching. Unflinching scout rifles is what we have right now in the game. If we know that scout rifles are a main push we want to use for endgame content, why not? I understand we dropped the trustee out. Okay, that is one scout rifle. It's a solar scout rifle. And why not put a focus on a specific weapon type? Let's focus on scout rifles this season. Let's add a couple. Let's go in and give it new roles, random roles. Give specific weapons that we have had before, make them viable. Make scout rifles a little bit better in PvE than it used to be. We can do that. Destiny has shown we can balance Crucible and PvE separately. Let's use that as an example. Let's go in and add another ARC scout rifle in there. Let's add a couple different ones in there so that we have multiple options. If you look at endgame content and people need to use scout rifles, there's only two you ever see: Night's Watch and Trusty. Two. One is kinetic and one is solar. You don't see anything else. That is not options. That's not letting me choose different things. Obviously, scout rifles do have some similar perks across the board, and I understand that elementally wise, we have solar for Trusty. There's other options there. The seasonal weapon has a void burn, but we need to have more content, more weapons to choose from with separate different roles. You can have some together, but let's drop a Trusty that has set roles of Killing Wind, Kill Clip, Can't Get Rampage. Keep a couple things in there that are only on different weapons and rotate them around. Have different opportunities to use different weapons for different scenarios and mix and match. Let's also look at hand cannons. We know with the Crucible balancing patches that they put out, they knew that hand cannons were going to be very forgiving. 120 hand cannons would be very forgiving. With the addition to range, they knew that people would want to use hand cannons. So we sunset Waking Vigil. I know it's coming back, but we sunset Waking Vigil. We sunset all 120 RPM energy hand cannons, leaving really 180s and a couple 140s. And I guess Sunshot is the exception. But if I wanted to have options with what I want to run in hand cannon, and I needed an elemental burn, what if I needed a 120 that packed a punch in PvE, that did void, or that did solar, that did arc? We don't have that. They could have used that opportunity to not necessarily reintroduce, but bring in a new weapon that has a solar burn. It's a 120, usable across the board, PvE and PvP. These are some opportunities that they had to cash in, but they're not lining up their seasons in their weapon drops as well as I think they could. Maybe not focus only on scout rifles, but give us more than one to choose from. Options. Options are important. When you go out and you want to go eat, you usually know what you want, but it's nice to have options too. Sometimes, I look at the menu and I see, maybe today I don't want a cheeseburger. Maybe today I would like some pasta. Options. And as you play through a long season and you have to use the same thing over and over and over, you're going to get tired of using the same thing over and over and over. So options will help increase your playability. That keeps your player base high. And that's one thing that Destiny's had issues with this recently. Taking stasis out of the equation is keeping their player bases high and wanting to reinvest into the game, time and money. So that's something that they can look at. I don't know what they're going to do. Hopefully they can look at all the different comments and ideas out there in the world that's out there on YouTube, on Twitter, on Reddit. There's so many people out there chiming in. I hope they can take this and put it all together. I think we're going to make this kind of a longer series than what I initially planned. This might be touching on a bunch of different areas. So this one is just talking about what is new, quote unquote, new in the season. Obviously, they're bringing other things in, like a couple strikes and new weapons. We'll touch on that in a later video. So I appreciate you guys stopping by. Please, open conversation. I'd love to hear what you think. Love to hear your thoughts on what we talked about today. Drop a comment in there. I'd love to have an open conversation with you and go forward with this. Once again, my name is Oreo Token. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys on the flip side. Bye-bye.